This video is brought to you by GreaterCommons.com. Greater learning, greater opportunities, greater life. So the next thing we're going to do is you guys are going to watch me. I'm going to introduce you to some stuff, and you're just going to focus on what I'm doing. You're not going to do anything. You're going to watch, and then after you've seen me do it, I'm going to give you access to all the things I just did, a list of them, and you're going to have 5 or 10 minutes to try them out yourself, okay? Sound good? So the first part, just focus in and learn. Second part, when we're done with that, will be you will try it. Don't try to watch and try at the same time, because what's going to happen is you'll be like, oh, cool, try it. And you'll be like, oh, what's he doing now? All right, so just watch for this first part. So I'm going to hold down Command and hit Spacebar, and that's Mac. And it launches Spotlight. So I'm just going to put a little note in there, right, like Mac shortcut, and it's a CMD Spacebar, all right? And that's going to launch as the Spotlight. And so I'm keeping these notes for you right here. If you want me to add something, you could shout it out and say, add that to the notes. And if I start to be annoyed by that, I'll say, no, that's enough. You write that yourself. But you could tell me that, all right? So interact with me. So Command Spacebar, and that's going to launch Spotlight. And Spotlight could also be launched on a Mac somewhere up here, like this magnifying glass will also launch it. And then in there I could type terminal. This is going to launch the terminal. Okay, so sometimes this is also referred to as the bash or the shell. And I think I could come in here and I could change the size preferences. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger and change the font size so you guys could see it from farther away, and I'll make it 48. And well, I could have done that with my thing. All right. So I didn't know, but it made the whole deal. So that's better. It's bigger. For this demonstration, let me just resize my window and bring it over here and bring it over here. And remember, you're just watching right now, just waiting. All right, cool. So it's also, the terminal is also sometimes known as the bash or the shell. Okay? If you hear command or command prompt or DOS prompt, you know, all of those are Windows. Windows and POSIX, P-O-S-I-X, operating systems are two very different operating systems. All right, so they evolved from the late 70s, mid-70s in their own ways. So Windows has its own commands for the DOS prompt, for the command prompt. So Windows has its own commands. POSIX computers, and I'm saying P-O-S-I-X, and POSIX computers are Unix, Linux, and Mac. They're all based on the Unix operating system, right? They have the terminal, or they also have the bash or the shell, right? You could call them just, you know, colloquially terminal, bash, or shell. And they all have their own set of commands. And so we're going to see some of these commands. So when I get in the terminal, now the terminal is the command line interface. So sometimes you'll see it in documentation referred to as CLI. Right? And you'll also even see this one, CLI. Okay? So you also see that as CLI. So I'm going to put CLI down here just on its own. And CLI is equals command line interface. An interface allows the user to interface with the computer. Am I recording this? I think I started recording. Yeah, I'm recording. So interface allows the user to interface with the computer. When computers started, this was how computers worked. Right? People interface with the computer with the command prompt. That's it. And you would do everything in your you know, with your computer at a terminal. You'd enter commands and you'd see things. There was no graphical user interface. So that's known as a GUI, graphical user interface. So a lot of things in programming are done with the command line interface. All right? And it's just because I don't know. Who wants to create an entire application and get some stuff done? Let's just make a command line interface, and they can interface with Docker and do everything. Or you could build everything with the command line interface. Why do we have to create a graphical user interface with all that overhead and all that expense? Okay, so for programmers, a lot of stuff is done with the command line interface. All right, so command line interface. I'm just going to bring this down in size just a little bit. You guys could still see that. That's still good. Still good. That way I have a little bit more room off to the right. All right, so some of the commands, and let me just add one more in there. So one command is print working directory, and that's going to print my directory. Okay, so pwd prints my directory. And so right now I am at /users /tm002 /documents. This is a file directory, just as if I was in Finder, right? And inside Finder here, I could go, into tm00 users tm002. I could go into documents, right? I could go into my Go workspace. I could go into source. I could go into GitHub. I could go into goes to 11. I could go into Golang Web Dev, and there I am. So two different ways to access the same thing. And when I say print working directory, pwd tells me which folder I'm in my directory. Print working directory. Okie dokie? Yeah.
File location.
File location. That's it. Yeah. And we organize things on computers in files, right? And they're trees. Files folders nested within folders nested within folders. So we have print working directory. And then Command K or clear, right? I could type in clear or Command K. That's going to clear out whatever I just had in there. So I'm going to add those in. Clear, and also, or Command plus K will clear out your terminal screen. So I print working directory, pwd, and then I do clear, and it clears it. Or Command K, just shortcut, clears it. Okay? Get rid of that stuff. You also saw me do ls. ls lists everything in the folder that I'm in. Here are all those files in that folder. And so ls will list everything. ls lists everything. Okay? And then we have ls-la, which I say list all. Right? List all. ls, and I should stop using dashes here. I'll do equals there and equals here because that's what it stands for. All right? And you want me to do this? Equals print working directory. Who wants that? Raise your hand.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, and do this. Clear, right? Clear command line interface. Right? List everything in the folder. List all. And so what's the difference between list and list all? Well, here's a list, and you can see it just kind of gave me a list. And when I do ls, let me Command K to clear that. ls space -la, and that's called a flag. I'm adding a flag on there. So list all, lists it like this. So it gave me a more vertical structure, and instead of just giving me the folders, it gave me a lot of different information about the folders, and it also showed me hidden files. So hidden files are prefixed with a dot, and I have a .git and a .gitignore and a .id. Those are hidden files or hidden folders. Okay, so list all shows hidden folders, and hidden files shows additional information. All right, and you want to see that sometimes. And shows user permissions. And so here are user permissions over here on the left, and this is how you do user permissions. This is a directory, and I'm not a whiz with this. I just started coding in 2013, as I said. And so Linux folder permissions, right? And let's see if it gives us a description here. Change mod, how to set change mod. Let's see if this tells it to us. And chmod, change all directories to, so drwx. What is drwx? There we go. So we'll see what comes up with that. OS 10, DWRX, folder permissions. D is directory. RWX means readable, writable, executable. So that's not accessible. That's executable. So that's wrong. I know that. Readable, writable, executable. And I'm just wondering because I know one's users, one's the owner, one's the group, and I'm wondering what the other one is. So the three RWX. Does anybody know? Calling the wisdom of the crowds in the classroom. All right, so Unix 3 user group RWX. See what comes up with that. How Unix file permissions work. This looks pretty good. RWX. A Unix is a stream of information, permissions on a file. RWX, username, group name. I'm just going to pause this video while I find the answer. Okay, so here it is. The first three positions are for the owner's permission, the second three for the group, and the last three are for the world or anyone. So when we look at that, we could see here, this is a directory. Here are the first three, read, write, execute, and that's for the owner. The next three are for the group. The group has read and execute, but they can't write to this file. And then everybody else in the world can read and execute it, but they can't write to it. Only the owner can read, write, and execute. So the owner is the only one who can write to it. Do you see that? Directory, and then read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute for the owner. That's the owner. For the group, and for the world or anyone. Okay? That eventually will be something we'll have to change. So just kind of like getting introduced to that. How many people are like, whoa, this is technical?
It's very technical.
Parlez-vous français? I don't even say that right, so you know I don't. Right? Salamalat Jalan? Anybody? You guys are moving into a new culture, and this culture has its own language. And if you want to be able to use the toilet and order food, you got to learn that language. Otherwise, you're going to be sleeping on the streets. Right? You want to get a room, you got to know how to speak the language and make that money. Otherwise, you're going to be sleeping on the street. So you're learning a language. So you'll go back and watch these videos over the week. What's up?
So the three different permissions are owner, group. What was the third one?
Anyone in the world, according to that document, which comes from, looked like a pretty good source. I saw EDU, somebody. Mason, George Mason University, I think. So, owner, group, and world. Read, write, execute. And then additionally, we have some numbers associated with that. So let me just find the deal on numbers. So here are the numbers. Owner, group, public, others. So that's real nice. I like that layout right there. Okay? Read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. And just think 4, 2, 1 for each of them like in this one here. And so if you're going to set permission for these, and I wanted to give read, write, execute to everybody, so for each one of these, you're just going to come up with the sum of the value of those three numbers that you want to set for that category. So if I want to set read, write, execute for public, I give public the number 7. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. If I want to do read, write, I say public is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6. If I want to do read, I just give it a 4. If I want to do read, execute, I give it a 5. Right? And by giving it a number, then it knows that's that's what the permission is for this one. So when we do a change, chmod, change and modify the permissions, we'll give 3 numbers, and the first number applies to owner, and the second number applies to group, and the third number applies to public. And so it'll be owner, group, like it'll be 777, which means give everybody read, write, execute. What if it, so 777, give everybody read, write, execute. So let me give you a little bit of example because I can see I'm going into the weeds a little bit. All right, so I'm going to make a file. And to do this, I'm going to leave this area here because this is like its own code area. And I'm just going to go up a level, and I'm going to make a directory. We'll come back to this permissions thing in a second. I'm going to make a directory and make dir. I'm going to make a directory, and the name of the directory is going to be CIT90. I'll do server-side scripting. Okay, make dir server-side scripting. So I just made a directory. Now if I do an ls, there's server-side scripting. I just made that directory. So let's add that command in. So let's also put in here, we have, let's put in that image, because that image really captured it. And we'll drop that. right here. And by the way, if you're watching this video online, I'm going to go to Google short URL. And if you want to get access to these notes, because I want to help you wherever you are in the world. People all over the world watch this stuff, and it's so awesome to hear like I get messages from people in South Africa, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from Russia, from China. They're like barely broken. They use Google Translate, and they're like, "Thank you so much." But you're more than welcome. Glad to share the love. If we ever run into each other, we could have a beer and some laughs. But now you can follow this short URL and you can get to those notes. Everybody in class, I'll give you access to the notes in a second. All right? So these are the notes. And I'll just copy that and drop it into the class also so that we have it. So we have a short URL if we ever want to look back at it. All right, so we left off with make dir and the permissions. I was going to drop that little image in there. How many people this class is going well for you so far? Cool. Let's hear it. Because I was in that folder, and then I said make dir, puts the folder right wherever I'm at, whatever one I'm in.
Mix it in your local, right?
Yeah, we did CD, and I got to put that in too. So CD, and it is 705. So that's that one there.
CD is
I'm just going to drag this out and put it right there. All right, so then we did CD, which equals change directory.
Did you restart the recording?
Oh man, I think so.
No, it's still going. Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. We did CD, which changed directory. If you ever see me make errors, and that's a enter directory, right? So you'd follow that with like CD, and you'd give it a name. So I'm just going to do a little triangles here and dir name, right? And that just means you would provide some directory name. I'm going to change this document to be landscape, page setup, and landscape, and OK. Cool. And then CD change directory, go up a level, right? So that meant I was down, I went up a folder. And you don't have to give it a name there. And so list all, cool. And then I did make dir. And you give it a directory name, right? And then it makes a directory. You have access to all this, so don't feel like you got to type it all. But that's good for you if you like it. All right, cool. It helps me too. All right, so we saw list and list all. All right, so we made a directory. Now I'm going to enter that directory, so I'm going to say cd server-side scripting. Okay, because that command cd takes a dir name. And so I did cd server-side directory. I'm changing directory. I'm entering this directory. Now if I do a print working directory, I could see that I'm in goes to 11 server-side scripting. How many people are like, oh shit? Raise your hand.
Sometimes.
Okay, so you want to own this. This is a language, and it requires study and work, and you have to be monastic and make it your apprenticeship and devote. It needs to be your devotion. That's the word I'm looking for. And so when you leave this class tonight, these videos will be on YouTube tonight, and you go through all this stuff until next week, and you work it, and you practice it, and you move around in the directory, and you use it, and that's the only way you learn it. You don't learn to speak Spanish by listening. You learn it by speaking. First you listen, okay, I got it, and then you try, you have to say it, and then you get it. All right, so now I'm in the server-side scripting. I'm going to create a file. Who knows how to create a file easily? There's a quick way where you just enter something and it creates it. I don't know that. Anybody?
On the terminal?
What is it? Touch. That's right, touch, sample file, right? And so now ls, I've got sample file. So touch, let's do touch here, and touch, and just like some name equals creates a sample file. Thank you for that, man. So I created a sample file. Now ls-la and my touch file is there, and the owner has read write, no execute. The group has read, and the public, the world has read, or whatever, right?
So that's the default, because you didn't assign any.
I didn't assign any. Yeah, so that's the default. So now I could do chmod, sample file, 777. I think that's the order. I might do the 777 first. Chmod 777 sample file. I think that's it. So let's see what happens. And now ls-la, read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Because that 7, this first 7, applies to the owner, and that's 4 for read, 2 for write, 1 for execute. Right? Corresponds just to this, 4, 2, 1. Right? I gave them all 7. If I did chmod 7, 5, what would 5 be? 5 would be what? Read and execute. And then 2, what's 2? Right. Okay, so I do that to sample file, and then ls-la, right? And I've got read, write, execute, that's my 7. And then my 5 is read and execute, the 4 and the 1. And then my write is just 2. And that corresponds to the 4, 2, 1. I just add it up and give it to that user. Got it? So if you don't got it, watch the video. Okay? And so you don't have to know this stuff cold. I'm just giving you the lay of the land, and you need to be able to, oh yeah, I remember that. I got to do a chmod. Let me refer back to the notes. What were the numbers? Right? Okay, cool. All right, got it. All right, so that's just, chmod. And so let's put touch, created a file, and then chmod, and then, numbers, 752, whatever, right? Some numbers there that you enter, and file name. Okay, file name or dir name, because you could apply that to a directory too. And if I came up a level and did ls-la, so cd ... go up a level, right? And did ls-la, you can see my directories have read-write permissions too, so I could set that on my directories. Now the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to build programs, we're going to build binary, and then eventually we'll deploy that onto Amazon Web Services. Hopefully we get that far. I'm not going to go so fast that nobody learns anything, right? But we'll deploy it on Amazon Web Services, and we'll want to execute it. We'll have to change the permissions to make the user on AWS, our machine that we create in the cloud, say you can execute this. Okay, that's how we change the permissions.
You wouldn't be able to do this on like GoDaddy
I don't. GoDaddy is great for commercials, but I don't know but the rest.
I do know that with jumpsuits.
It's terrible in terms of pricing.
Amazon AWS is pretty nice.
Huh?
Doesn't Google have some kind of web?
Yep, they've got the cloud too. Google Cloud.
I use the cloud all the time.
All right, so we are in server-side scripting, and we just created that file, and we changed the modifications on it. And I'm going to do one more thing here, and it's Nano file name. Okay, so Nano is a little text editor, Nano being like small, and previously called Pico. All right, and so I could do a Nano sample file, and now I'm in a little text editor. Hey, what's up? Okay, and now down here on the bottom it tells me that little caret means control. That caret means control. So caret. I don't know how to get the caret symbol on my keyboard. Where is it? Is it caret? Is that what it's called?
Shift 6.
There we go. So that little symbol equals control, okay? Can you see that? And so here it says control exit. So control exit, and do you want to save this? And I just enter Y, okay? And file name to write, sample file, hit enter. And so it just did that, and Nano's a little text editor. So I was able to enter a little text editor. So sometimes we'll use Nano to quickly edit a file right at the terminal, save it, make a few changes, be done. Yeah, sweet, right? And now we could cat that file. Cat file name and shows contents of a file. So right at the terminal, you could say, hey, here, what's in that? Sample file's in that. Well, let's see what's in sample file. Cat sample file. Hey, what's up? Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Hope she didn't think I was talking to her right when she walked by. I'm gonna get myself fired. Hey, baby, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, wow.
She looked over. Better be careful.
That's funny.
Oh, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about the code. Don't flatter yourself.
I was just gonna say have you back, like since you want to say that, you're good.
All right, so there's my file. Pretty cool, right? How many people the class is not working for you? Because I only got some hands when I said class is working for you. Cool. All right, and now we're going to remove that file. So that file's there, and I could do an ls-la to see it all, and I could remove that file. So remove sample file. Remove sample file, just hit Y. Yeah? Yes. ls, nothing there. That's it. Remove the sample file. If I make a dir, right, and then enter dir, and then make some more dirs, all right, I got all those dirs in there, and then come back up a level, and I'm in server-side scripting, print working directory, and I want to delete that dir, remove recursively with for, because what's in here is that dir cowboy that's got all those other dirs in there. I've got a lot of dirs inside dirs inside dirs I want to get rid of. Remove recursively with force. So the flags recursively with force, right? And so this one removes a file, removes a folder and subfolders. So remove recursively with force, cowboy. And I need to put in file name here because it takes a file name. Okay, so boom, cowboy's gone. No cowboy. So you can see why programmers start to like the terminal as opposed to let me right-click that, choose delete from the menu. It's like right? Like when you spend a lot of time on a keyboard, you become like a pianist. And when you watch good programmers work, they even have a programming environment called Vim, where you code with chords because they're just such interesting key combinations. They call them chords. So the programmer's like chong 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 dun dun dun, and you're like, well, I don't know what just happened. Like things are just flashing on the screen, but they know what they're doing. They're just talking that language, right? That they've learned, like a pianist. You ever try to play the piano and then watch somebody who really knows how to play the piano? It's like, whoa, you're not thinking. They're just like muscle memory hearing the tune, and it's being translated through them as their hands move. They're not having to think this, that. All right, so that's that. Sometimes your computer won't do what you want it to do, so you could prefix right? You could use sudo in front of any command, and that will try to run it as the super user. And so if I wasn't able to delete that folder, I could try sudo rm. I'd type in, like, let me just make a dir. Right, there's that dir, and I could say sudo rm rf cowgirl. All right, you won't let me rm rf cowgirl. That doesn't sound totally appropriate. But you won't let me rm rf cowgirl just as myself. Well, I'm going to sudo rm rf cowgirl. I'm really getting fired now. Right? And then pow. And it's going to say, what's your password? Okay. Done. Right? And it'll let me do that as super user, which is just like a higher level permission where it's like, dang it, make that happen. Okay? But it asked me for the password. So a super user do, and we saw change mod, and we saw make dir, and then there's copy. So let's say touch surfer girl. Oh, geez, surfer gill. That is interesting. And now I have that file. I don't want surfer gill. I want, yes, remove that. And then touch surfer girl. That doesn't sound totally appropriate either, but you know, if you can make jokes about programming, you should go for it. And so now I have that, and I want to copy surfer girl. So copy surfer girl, usage, source file, target file. So I need to provide it. So it gave me a hint here. So it said, hey, copy CP, and then some flags I could use, and then source file, target file, right? Or source file, target directory. All right, so it kind of gave me some hints. So I wonder if I said help CP, what it'd do, no help. So I was just curious, 'cause sometimes that's different. So I'm going to do ls, copy surfer girl, surfer, there we go. And if you hit tab, it auto fills in if you have a unique match so far. Copy surfer girl into surfer dude. Okay, so I copied a file. And so here, copy, and I'm just going to put source file, destination file. And it creates the destination file, all right? And if I wanted to move, and it's moves, right? File to move, place to move it to. So if I make a dir and call it North Shore, or remove North Short, remove recursively with force North Short, right? And then make a dir North Shore. Okay, and now ls. I've got North Shore, surfer dude, surfer girl. Now if I do an ls la, I could see that North Shore is a directory. It has that D in front of it. But surfer dude and surfer girl just have a dash. They're files. So now I'm going to move. Who do you want to move to the North Shore? Surfer girl or surfer dude? That's what I thought. Surfer girl. And move surfer girl to the North Shore. And ls, she's no longer there. And then enter North Shore, and she's there. Okay, so I moved. And so that's move. File to move, place to move it to is move. Echo prints things out. And echo would be like content, file, and variable. So I don't know if we're going to see that one. And then let me see. So echo dollar path is one we'll sometimes do. All right. So an example would be echo $path shows path variable. And we're going to learn about environment variables when we set up our environment under installation. So echo $path just shows me my path environment variable. I could also hit date, which is self-explanatory, and it'll give me the date. And PS is processes that are running. So sometimes that's interesting. I think there's a PS-A. I don't know that one very well. And then there's a pipe and grep. And this gets a little bit, and so those are right there. So take the output, let's do this. One process, another process. And this is equals take the output from one process and make it the input of the second process. Let's call it this. Take the output from first process and make it the input of second process. And so you could pipe the output of one thing into the input of the next thing. So that's pretty cool. And so if I wanted to echo $path pipe, it's going to get all of that. It's going to run, and here's the output. And I'm saying pipe this into the input of the next process. And grep is regular expressions. I forget what the G's for. What does grep stand for? Unix command, search files. Grep is command. What is grep? Grep, what is it?
It's a global.
Global regular expression? Okay. See, this is like why teaching's cool, because I'm like, I don't know what that is. Let me look that up. Global regular expression. All right, and so that is grep and some regex. Okay, some regular expression. I don't know regex, but I do know that I could put here like bin. And then it'll find, if bin's in there, it'll print out the line with bin. This is all one line, so it prints that line out. All right? Or I could do grep nothing, or you know, cowboy. Right? And it's like, I didn't find cowboy in all that output. So if you have a file and you really quickly want to look at that file, there's something in there, you could just grep and pipe. Okay? So that's a pretty cool little overview of terminal. I like that quite a bit, what we just did. And I want you guys to take a break now. It's 7:30. So I'm pretty optimistic about what we'd cover today. And I'm totally cool if we're laying good foundation, then it takes whatever time it takes. So we're going to take a break till 7:45. During that time, you could, you know, go to the bathroom, you could get a drink. There's a little coffee deal down by the fountain if you want to go grab a cup of coffee. And you could also just try some of this stuff out. Go into Canvas. Inside Canvas, we have a link under Pages, right? So I'm just going to save and publish this. And under Pages, here's lecture notes week 1, and you could just click either of those. They take you to the same place. So you can pop up all that and try some of those commands on the terminal. Okay?
How do I get to the page? Oh, here you go.
Should be right there in Canvas now.
Just put it there.
I just put it up.